Time for the debrief, and this week we really have something special. Dr. Peter Brooks is basically a real-life Tom Clancy character. He was a naval officer, a spy. He worked directly for the Secretary of Defense. The dude knows his stuff. Now he's semi-retired, but still writes for the Geopolitical Intelligence Services, or GIS. I had the chance recently to talk with Dr. Brooks over Zoom about a paper he authored focusing on Iran's nuclear program and just how soon it might be before they have a nuclear weapon.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. You are a hard man to get a hold of, but I really want to talk to you about an article you had written for GIS about Iran's nuclear ambition. And you had some kind of key takeaways in there, but I want to start off with this idea of breakout time. Can you kind of explain for our viewers what exactly you mean by breakout time?
Well, I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I think that term is often used inappropriately. People use it a lot. What it really means is the time it would take a country to produce enough fissile material for one bomb. So it's not the time it would take for them to produce the bomb itself, but the time to produce the fissile material. The building of a bomb itself is a whole nother scientific and engineering challenge.
Okay. And right now, Iran's breakout time to get that fissile material is pretty short.
Yes. Under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action from 2015, the agreement with the P5+1, the five permanent nuclear powers, plus Germany/EU and Iran, it was
real quick, the Iran nuclear deal, as it's commonly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. The Iran nuclear deal, as it's commonly called. They envisioned that it would take, at that point, now that remember, that's 2015, that's a long time ago, that they envisioned that it would take a year for Iran to be able to produce enough fissile material for one bomb. Recently, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, which it monitors, I mean, that's the UN's nuclear watchdog, which monitors this agreement, says that it could only be a couple of weeks, that Iran has enough stockpiled low enriched uranium that in a couple of weeks it could produce enough high enriched uranium to produce a couple of to produce at least one bomb.
Nuclear armed Iran, not good for the Middle East, not good for the world.
No, not at all. I mean, we don't want to see this. We don't want to see another country join the once exclusive nuclear club. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned about Iran. They want hegemony over the Persian Gulf. They want hegemony in the Middle East. They have serious issues with the United States and Israel, as we know. They have a tremendous amount of animus towards the United States and Israel. They also are a radical regime that supports terrorism. Right. And one of the big concerns is, and as we've talked about this in the context, you and I haven't talked about it, but analysts have talked about this in the context of Russia-Ukraine, is Russia has nuclear weapons and Ukraine doesn't. And Russia may have more freedom of action because of concerns of escalation from the conventional scale to the nuclear scale. So a radical Islamist regime that supports terrorism with nuclear weapons and has great power aspirations is, in my estimation, is not a good thing. So nobody wants it. Well, many people do not want Iran to get the bomb. I'm not sure who does, although they do have some relationships with some other sort of rogue states. But certainly the United States does not want to see Iran get the bomb.
Does Iran need to use ICBM or missile to be able to deliver a nuclear device if they have these terrorist proxies that could, dirty bomb, backpack nuke kind of thing?
Right. Well, first of all, it's important to note that we're not quite clear as to whether Iran has the technology or capability to build the bomb.
Okay.
They're working on the material that's required. And then there's a whole other set of scientific and engineering challenges that are required to actually make that warhead, right? Mm-hmm. So even if they had an underground test, which they've tested nothing so far, and they might try to use supercomputers to say we have the capability of doing it. We're not sure that they actually have a warhead. Okay. Gotcha. So then once you do this thing underground, you do this testing underground, then you have to miniaturize that engineering rig to be able to put it in the nose cone of a missile or something else. So you're talking about miniaturization. A nuke backpack is something that was talked about during the Cold War. that takes a tremendous amount of science and technology. Just getting it down to fit in the nose cone of an ICBM, which can carry a lot of weight, is a real challenge. A dirty bomb is not a nuclear weapon per se. There's no fission or fusion in that. It just spreads radioactive material. So it's important to clarify those things. But yes, I mean, ultimately, Iran down the road could certainly put a nuclear weapon in a ship and sail it into a harbor.
Right.
They could put it on an aircraft. Remember, that's how they started with us, was with aircraft. They could put it on a missile at some point, a different size range. Once they're able to create that sort of a warhead, they also could put it on a drone, or a cruise missile. And remember, Iran is a major supplier of drones and a major leading drone power in the world today, and they're providing them, as we know, to Russia. And they're used for both ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, as well as weapons delivery. So there's all sorts of ways you could do this. And yes, that's obviously a concern. Right now, there's a concern that Iran is sharing its weaponry with its allies and proxies in the Middle East, and some of them are terrorist groups. So yes, some people, Iran is the most active supporter of state terrorism in the world. And them having the bomb should give us a significant pause, especially the people that they work with.
So back in November, when the GIS article came out, you had kind of ended it with, there's a sliver of hope that maybe Iran comes to its senses and backs off. In the 2 months since the article came out to now, do you still hold on to that small sliver of hope, or is it gone?
It's even smaller. I was trying to say, look, we have a regime in Iran right now that is led by a particular leader, and there are a lot of hardliners, and Iran is a hardline regime, but there could be a change, right? I mean, it's always possible. We're always surprised by these sort of things. Think about all the color revolutions and things along that line. So Iran, if it had a change in leadership, I could see it moving. Of course, once again, it's important to point out that Iran says that their nuclear program is for peaceful energy purposes. Okay, so they're saying Islam would not allow the creation of a nuclear weapon. But I mean, it's one of these things. Are you going to believe them, or are you going to believe your own eyes? Mm-hmm. Because of what we're seeing. But once again, there's also the drama involved and the geopolitical maneuvering that's involved, where they're trying to get leverage. Okay, so the perception of a bomb program also gives you leverage. Okay, and when we know there's a lot of things we don't know about the Iranian program. So yes, there's always a chance that they could say, okay, this is a bad idea. We want to be integrated in the international system. We want all of these sanctions to go away. But the challenges that are going on in the Middle East and the possible for a wider conflagration there, I don't think Iran's going to move in that direction right now. Once again, like I said, this is a possibility, okay, and not a big one. And it's probably smaller now, but that's a choice for Iran to make. There's been countries have continually opened the door to Iran if they were to change their behavior, but they've chosen not to, and they've stayed the same course. And there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about Iran besides the nuclear weapons. I mean, it's their support of terrorism. We talked about the human rights situation in the country. Things along that line. And other things people say, why is Iran pursuing, nuclear weapon or nuclear energy when they have all that gas and oil? Yeah. So it's very expensive if you were to think about it in that sort of thing. And for a country that is terribly economically mismanaged and should do quite well considering its thing, it's rather impoverished.
Yeah. Peter, let's leave it there for now. I'm sure in a couple of months, we'll probably be circling back and figuring out the latest Iran steps. But thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And have a great one.
You too. Take care.
If you want to hear more of my conversation with Dr. Peter Brooks, you are in luck. We have some audio exclusives over at our podcast channels. So find that wherever you get your Weapons and Warfare podcast.